Well, guys, it's been 16 long years since we've gotten any type of Friday the 13th content, well, besides a video game and, some other bullshit. But we are finally inching closer to that finish line of getting something. It might not be exactly what you want, it might not be exactly what the general Friday the 13th fan base is craving for, but it's something, and that is exciting. So, Crystal Lake, as we know, has been already been through a little bit of developmental hell, firing a showrunner last year, etc., etc., etc. But it appears it's now finally entering the production phase. So this is good news for those of us who want to see some type of Friday the 13th content. So I'm going to read an article that popped up a couple days ago, and I want to talk it through together. So before we get to that, tell me in the comments, are you excited for this series? Maybe you are not excited at all. Let me know in the comments. Maybe you're not a big Pamela guy or gal, and you just want Jason. It's okay. Tell me in the comments. I'm excited for this series, guys. I'm just gonna say it. I've heard all kinds of things about it. Some might be true, some might not be true, but the fact that we're getting some Friday content, like I said, after 16 long years since that 2009 reboot, reimagining, whatever, is exciting. Obviously, we've had to rely on fan films, and uh, as great as they are, it's nice to get some actual Friday the 13th news. Okay, let's dive right into it. Here is an article from GamesRadar.com. How reputable is this source? Guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't fucking know. I found an article. I want to read it and discuss it. So if something in here is untrue, I apologize. I try to be factual. I did a little bit of research, and I've seen it in multiple places. This is just the easiest article I could find. We're going to take it as truth. Maybe not gospel, but we're going to take it as truth because I've heard from other sources that this news is correct. But it's saying the Friday the 13th prequel series, Crystal Lake, enters production with a fun callback to the classic Jason Voorhees movies. All right. Let's dive into this. It's not very long. It says A24's Friday the 13th streaming series Crystal Lake has officially entered production, according to showrunner Brad Caleb Kane, who posted a message about the official start of filming on his social media. So hopefully Brad Caleb Kane doesn't get fired just like the other guy from Hannibal, whatever the fuck his name was. It says Crystal Lake production offices are live. It's all happening. Machetes for everybody. So that's exciting. They're not gonna They're not gonna rent offices if they're not pretty damn close to starting. So that is great news. Obviously, summer is approaching. I would assume they would start filming in the summer. So because that's it's summer camp, right? But it's exciting. They wouldn't do that if they weren't close. Crystal Lake goes all the way back to the Friday the 13th franchise's origin story, in which young Jason Voorhees is murdered by rowdy, irresponsible camp counselors at Crystal Lake, leading to his mother, Pamela Voorhees, to seek revenge by killing teen counselors. Yeah. I'm wondering if that is just this person not knowing the actual origin story about this. Because I don't know if he was actually murdered. Maybe he was. Maybe he is going to be in this new series. Maybe he's murdered. But obviously he just drowned, right? He drowned because they weren't paying any attention to him. If you want to call that murder, maybe. I wouldn't call it murder. I could see an argument for maybe involuntary manslaughter due to negligence, etc., but not fucking murder. Murder is something that is a little more serious than that. Not same result, right? Same fucking result. But I'm not really a fan of the way that is worded. Let's continue on just a little bit and then let's talk about it. It says later films in the series feature the resurrected Jason as the killer, stumbling through endless brutal kills of young people as nigh unkillable revenant. They elevated the character to horror movie popularity as one of the premier slasher villains with a level of recognizability even for those who haven't seen any of the films. All right, well, they used a lot of fucking big words there just to say Jason kills a bunch of teens, right? Okay, whatever. have some issues with that, trying to sound too smart. No offense to the author here, but I think you're trying to sound a little too smart. Know your fucking audience here, man. Not that we're not smart. We are smart. But just get to the point. You don't have to pretend you're smarter than us. Anyway, see, I'm off on a fucking tangent. I go away from YouTube for a while, and I start going on tangents, guys, and I'm probably sounding like a big asshole, but that's okay. Actor Linda Cardellini has been cast as Pamela Voorhees for the series, though the details of whether the plot will progress along the same lines as the original films, with Crystal Lake having been described as a prequel, are unclear. Producer Brian Fuller of Hannibal claim was originally attached as a showrunner, but he departed last year with Brad Caleb Kane coming in to fill the position. Crystal Lake will stream on Peacock. Yeah, I have Peacock. That was weird. Though no official premiere date for the series has been set. All right, so Linda Cardellini, I think she played Daphne in the Scooby-Doo movies. I think that's a good choice. She has a lot of talent from what I've seen, so I think that's a good choice. We'll see if she has the range, and it'll all obviously depend what they end up doing with the story in this. So, like I said, bare bones on that article, but it's big news, guys, because it's actually happening. You know, we've been teased as Friday fans, you know, so many times over the years, just so many fucking times, right? You know, and with the legal battles, and then what happened last year with Fuller, and all kinds of shit. But I think we're finally getting close to the finish line where they are going to start filming this series. Tell me in the comments, what do you guys want to see in this series? For me, the first thing I want to see, and I'm just going to tell you guys right off the bat, I want episodes to come out on a weekly basis and not just all drop at once. Okay? The reason for that is I like old school TV like that, where you have a week to kind of digest what you just watched, and then we can get online here and talk about it, talk about predictions, talk about what we saw. I think that'll be really fun if they would release it like that, like in weekly installments. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't heard anything about that, but that is kind of my number one want, obviously, besides quality and, you know, shit like that. It's kind of ironic here that they're using a picture of Roy for this as Jason, right? When Jason, we don't even know if Jason's going to be in this series. I assume he is, based on what we heard about the rights. But either way, it's big news that they're actually gonna start filming this in the near future. So tell me in the comments, guys, are you excited for Crystal Lake? Or do you just want a standard Jason movie where he's killing teens and that's all we get? Crystal Lake, I think, has a lot of potential to explore Pamela's story. I hope they don't make Jason sympathetic. You know, there's a lot to talk about, which we'll get into as the weeks and months progress here, as we start getting more and more news. But starting production is the first big start here, and it looks like they are close. So thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, tell me in the comments, are you excited? And I will see you on the next one.